You are standing in a workshop, looking at a chisel you used this morning. The blade is already spotted with rust, small orange flecks spreading. You paid $40 for this tool 3 months ago. It cost you $40, and humidity cost you this. Now, I want you to sit with this for a moment. This rust did not have to happen. It never should have. I have spent 20 years maintaining Japanese tools, and I have never lost one to rust. My grandfather taught me the method before I was old enough to hold a blade. Today, I am going to show you exactly how I keep every metal tool perfect. The entire process takes less than 2 minutes, uses 1 bottle of oil, and costs $3. And stay with me, because near the end, I will show you the part that resets the clock indefinitely. You are standing at your workbench after you finish. The tool is warm from use. Here is what you do first. You take camellia oil, tsubaki oil, pressed from seeds in Japan. 1 small bottle lasts you months. $3 buys you complete protection. You place a few drops on a soft cotton cloth. That is all. Now you wipe the blade. Just 1 smooth pass, tip to base. The oil spreads so thin you can almost see through it. Almost. Here is why this works, and most people miss this part. Iron oxidizes when water and oxygen touch the metal at the same moment. Rust is an electrochemical reaction. Iron gives electrons to oxygen, and oxide forms. Camellia oil is not a drying oil. It does not harden. It sits as a micro-thin barrier, a hydrophobic layer that blocks oxygen and displaces water. No water touches the metal. No oxygen reaches the surface. No reaction. You wipe away the excess. The blade should shine faintly, not glisten. A heavy coat attracts dust and defeats the purpose entirely. The timing matters. You do this immediately after use, while the blade is warm. Residual heat and humidity accelerate rust formation if you wait. This is the after-use ritual Japanese craftsmen have honored for centuries. But that thin coat is only half the story. What you do next month, the reset, is where the real protection compounds. You have the oil on the metal now, and the clock is running. But here is what separates a month of protection from a year of it. The oil wants to flow everywhere. You cannot let it. Look at your chisel again. Do you see the faint lines running down its length? Those lines are the grain. The metal was forged and shaped in one direction, and it remembers. Inside that steel are millions of crystals, aligned like fence posts in a row. When I was 12, my grandfather took my hand and moved it along the blade, not across it. He said nothing, just showed me the difference I could feel. Now watch what happens when you apply the oil against the grain instead of with it. The oil pools in tiny valleys running sideways, and air gets trapped underneath. 6 weeks later, that patch will rust while the grain-following patch stays clean. Here is why. Cross-grain scratches expose the metal's grain boundaries to moisture. Grain boundaries are where corrosion actually starts. They are weak points in the crystal structure. When you drag your cloth across the grain, you are cutting perpendicular channels that trap water like a gutter. With grain strokes, run parallel to those boundaries and sit shallower, like water running off a roof. The oil fills those parallel valleys completely, with no air pockets left behind. This is not theory. Japanese bladesmiths have known this for 400 years. In Sakai and Seki, knife makers still finish every blade in the same direction, longitudinally, with the grain. They do it because a cross-grain finish knife rusts faster under the same conditions. Your wipe now decides everything. Move your cloth down the length of the metal. Feel the grain. Follow it. Do not fight it. One direction, one rhythm. That is the whole secret. And here is where it gets interesting, because the oil you choose next amplifies this effect or completely ruins it. But that paste is resting now, and what you spray on it next is where the real protection begins. So you have learned the grain direction, and now comes the part that stops most people cold. You walk into the hardware store, and the shelf is full of oils for roughly the same price. WD-40 sits there like it owns the place, promising rust protection in that blue and yellow can. Here is what nobody tells you. WD-40 is a water displacer, not a rust preventer. It evaporates. Within weeks, your metal is bare again. 3-in-1 oil is next to it. A blend with mineral oil, yes, but also solvents. Those solvents vanish. Your protection vanishes with them. And then you see linseed oil, cheap, golden, promising. Linseed is a drying oil. It hardens as it sits on the metal. When it hardens, it traps moisture underneath. You have locked rust onto the surface. I learned that mistake in 2004 on a set of chisels my grandfather gave me. Now, let me show you where the real answer lives. Leave the hardware aisle. Walk to the pharmacy section, or the kitchen aisle, or the dollar store. Food-grade mineral oil, often under $3, sometimes $2. It is chemically identical to the expensive metal oils, just unmarked and unbranded. Mineral oil is non-drying. It stays liquid on the metal for months. It repels water because it is hydrophobic. Water and oil do not mix, ever. Sewing machine oil works the same way, thinner, nearly as cheap. Baby oil works identically. It is mineral oil with a fragrance, nothing more. Petroleum jelly, Vaseline, under $3 anywhere, creates a thicker barrier that lasts longer in humid air. Now, here is the honest part. None of these is the traditional answer. Camellia oil, Tsubaki oil, what my grandfather carried in a small bottle, costs more than $3. But mineral oil performs the same mechanism for a fraction of the price. The trade-off is viscosity. Thin oils cling better to micro irregularities in the grain, but they require more frequent reapplication. Thicker oils stay put longer, but cool on flat surfaces. For the 2-minute wipe you learned in Chapter 1, food-grade mineral oil is the working answer. Buy the cheapest bottle you can find. The protection is identical, but there is one monthly step that changes everything you just learned. That step is what decides whether your metals stay pristine for decades or lose their shine inside a year. With the grain sealed and the oil chosen, here is what actually keeps rust away forever. Once a month, you return to the metal and wipe it completely clean with a dry cloth. Old oil collects dust, traps moisture underneath, and becomes the soil where rust grows. I learned this the hard way in 2003 when I stored my grandfather's chisels for 6 months without thinking. When I opened the box, the handles smelled like vinegar. Oxide had bloomed under the old coat. The mechanism is simple. Protective barriers degrade from humidity, dust, and time. 1 month of sitting there is 1 month the coating loses its seal. So here is the monthly reset, and this is the part that changes everything. Take a naguigami, a soft wiping cloth, and remove every trace of the old oil. You are looking for bare, clean metal underneath, no residue, no dull film. Now apply fresh oil using the grain direction you learned in Chapter 2. The moment you add a new layer, you are not adding to the old coat. You are replacing it, resetting the clock, and returning to factory condition. This is the Japanese sword maintenance ritual used by Tosho craftsmen for centuries. On a katana blade, they call it the monthly oiling, and it is non-negotiable. The same principle holds for any ferrous metal: chisel, plane, saw, knife, hinge. I have watched a single chisel go 18 years on this rhythm. No rust, no fade, no decay. Now look at what we have walked through. The immediate barrier, the 2-minute coat after you use the tool, the grain direction that determines whether moisture finds its way inside, the budget oil selection that makes the whole method affordable and repeatable. And now the monthly reset that keeps the barrier fresh indefinitely. These 4 steps are not separate tricks. They are one complete system. You apply, you mind the grain, you choose the right oil, you reset monthly. That is all there is. Here is what I want you to do this week. Find one metal tool you have neglected: a saw, a garden gate, a shovel blade. Wipe it clean, apply the oil with the grain, and feel the difference. Then mark your calendar for next month. One simple action, one afternoon, one oilcloth. Tell me in the comments which tool you chose and what it looked like when you started. I read every single one, because this matters. Not because it is glamorous, but because it works, quietly, month after month, keeping something you own looking alive.